All right, welcome one and all to another magnificent Terran Tuesday, starting off streaming Tuesday. How you guys doing today as we wait for the
Hello.
crowd to flow in?
Hello.
Woo.
Are
It's
you
hot,
feeling?
y'all. It's
Are you
hot in
feeling?
Texas.
Oh, it's hot, but is it enigmatically hot?
No, it's not the hottest I've ever been. The hottest I was ever been here in Texas is 119 degrees.
Hmm.
And that was the day
So
before my
so,
son was born. So
but is it mysteriously hot?
it's
Is it is it
intriguingly hot.
is it mystifyingly hot?
No, is it? I've actually seen it this hot before. It is intriguingly hot. It is intriguing that that's this hot because I know that we're
Uh,
fixing to get another cold front actually right behind
okay,
it. That's going to
okay.
cause a whole lot of tornadoes and
Yeah,
cool
yeah, yeah.
stuff.
The cold fronts in Texas, they are more mysterious. Like they're
That's right. They
mysterious.
are.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's
Ah,
absolutely correct.
so
Yeah, and
so
it's been mysteriously cool up here because usually it'd be
Really,
already like 110 degrees. It was 110 degrees yesterday, and
really
it's
strangely
like maybe a high
it's
80s today.
yeah.
It's pretty cool
Strangely,
for
it's
us.
nice.
colder here too.
Really.
It's a bit cold. I mean, I had to. I mean, I had to grab my blanket. And I was not expecting to have to do it. I think I stashed it twice already in preparation for the summer heat, but no summer heat. So yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's been
Um,
pretty cool down here. The plants have been loving it. But Black
I
Knight,
bet.
you're the one that chose today's subject matter for us to
Yeah.
jump into. So why don't you go ahead and tell us what the inspiration for this one is?
Well, it's various enigmatic machinery. It could be even said that the cyberspace is quite like the enigmatic machine, quote unquote. Skynet is. Even the freaking Death Star is a piece of like is a ginormous piece of enigmatic machinery because it's not just it's not just a simple machine, as you know. It's powered by certain Jedi crystals. Um, it's not just a simple planet destroying laser. No, no, no. And as such, I thought of many various pieces of tech, which are often ginormous. Often they are tiny, but they all share that one trait that they are quite enigmatic, mysterious, sometimes even impossible to comprehend by
Mm-hmm.
those who even those who use them, even those who know how to use them. And in certain universes, I can say that there are simple like guns, well, not simple, but weapons of technological nature, which the people who or the not just people but the warriors, the soldiers who are employing them, even they have no freaking idea how they do what they do. um, they just know that when they pull the trigger or press the button, the thing that or the person that they are aiming at will suffer pain and then eventually die. or hopefully die quickly before they can return fire. So enigmatic machines, these can be many things. And just like James earlier mentioned, it's a bit of a, well, niche topic. I agree, it could be, but the wide variety of such machines, and we are talking even like magical, arcane machines, not just of purely technological matter machines. This encompasses a lot of stuff, a lot. So just introducing it. Yes, I do consider even the freaking Death Star from Star Wars an enigmatic machine. What say you?
Okay, I say fine. I won't put my drawbridge on there then. It's not enigmatic enough for you. I actually created a drawbridge and put it in my thing and drew it like it was drawn on a napkin. But I'm going to take it off now. It's not enigmatic enough. Farewell, drawbridge.
Is there a cyber troll hiding under the bridge?
No, it's actually created out of scavenged materials. But I do have the heliosgram, and I have my other a couple of other things. The Shiva, which is a superheating internal volatility activator, and it's a weapon. So yes, we do have some things like that. We have basically a heat blast.
Good.
And
Let the power of the enigmatic machines flow through you.
Fine, okay, but I still love my drawbridge.
Yeah, I know that James has a bunch of these.
There's a few.
Yep.
I haven't explored them too much yet, but some of my
because
favorites,
they're enigmatic. You can't
some of my
explore them too
favorites
much.
from sci-fi, which is really where you're going to find most of these sci-fi and fantasy. I think off the top of my head, I think of Harry Potter, though that's not the one I'm going to bring up. That's more so like a fantasy reference because you have a lot of different type of magical machines there that they should like to show off.
Is it powered by alchemy?
No idea, but I was thinking of the Stargate from the show Stargate, which is at the center of it all. They don't really necessarily know where it comes from. They know what it does.
Yep.
Yeah. And it is the one thing that allows essentially the United States military to travel to different worlds and document what they find, interact with strange cultures, and try to bring back new and interesting technology to weaponize because it's the military. But one fantastic piece of technology that has always stuck out to me is one of the an interesting blend of both mystical and science fiction would be the ship that was found in the third television show of Stargate that was actually called Stargate Universe. Only lasted about 2 seasons because they're trying a lot of new stuff, but it didn't work out so much. But near the center, they had this magnificent ship that was inspired by Geiger and a lot of ancient sort of kind of given this weird ancient look. And when they're first exploring the ship, it's just magnificent, miles long piece of machinery that's just been floating through space and time for centuries. It was launched from Earth before the dawn of man, and they found their way aboard, and they're essentially stuck on this ship. And one interesting piece of technology that breaks that boundary of science fiction and I guess what you'd call science. I don't want to say science fact, but it breaks that boundary of science fiction and fantasy. Yes, and fantasy is when it's so advanced that man can't necessarily comprehend how it does what it does, but it has that perfect blend. And that is that the ship itself can sort of not only scan individuals' biology, but it can also scan their psychology and continuously sort of updates its own programming with that. And there was a certain portion of the episode when their chosen leader was going through a bit of a crisis, and the ship itself decided that it wasn't going to it wasn't going to move at all. It was going to stay right where it was, and it played a simulation in his dreams over and over again to test him. And when it thought that he was leader enough, if you would, then all the programming started coming back to life, and the ship, almost like this self-security measure built upon the crew, was activated. And I always thought to introduce such interesting and unique technologies opens up a whirlpool of imagination and possibilities. And this is beyond horror too, because this is one aspect that we often find these sort of machines is in the realm of horror. A lot of Lovecraftian stuff, a lot of cosmic stuff. This is where you're finding a ton of them as well. But I believe that though they are great to bring forth some sort of dark, mysterious creature, that in the broader sense, it easily falls within a much more fantastical genre, like fantasy or a bit of hard sci-fi that leans more on the dramatic side.
Yep. It's, how should I put it? I mean, that's one of the perhaps my most beloved tropes within science fiction and space opera. And it's when your characters or the universe that you have were built bumps into something like this giant ship, which is ancient and incomprehensible, and it's like its technology levels are so over and beyond the comprehension of like even the best scientific minds of your characters, among your characters, that it's not borderline magic, it's science magic. It's operating on a level like of physics and let's say cosmology, that your characters are like, what the crap is this? Like, how can this even work? And I think I have something similar in the shape of these ancient derelicts, which they move through hyperspace or through wormholes, and they're absolutely ginormous. They are, many of them are like over 1,000,000 years old. Some are even older. They are from older galactic cycles, older galactic civilizational cycles, and the races which created them then no longer exist, and all of their memory has like gone from the current consciousness, even though there are civilizations which are like tens of thousands of years old. Even they do have no freaking idea what these things are. And in many cases, the prevailing notion is that if their navies see one of these derelicts, which they call the roamers, if they see it, they just fly away. They don't fuck around. They don't try to explore it. They don't try to conquer it, to capture it. They just fly away. And currently in the universe, only the Terrans, the humans, and their allies are perhaps ballsy enough to brave these like magical levels of technology and explore these ships, which many of them are the size of cities. I mean, they can house millions of crew. They have entire factories aboard them. And sadly, in many cases, they are possessed or even operated by ghosts or wraiths, which were created or summoned for the task. So,
yeah,
I think it
interesting.
fits. I think it fits.
Yeah, definitely tapping into the more horror essence thereof, which and R.H. Snow, I do believe that your fiction would have some enigmatic machines being those interesting pieces of technology still left over from the world of old, which the current inhabitants may not necessarily know where it necessarily came from.
No, I think it would be like magic to them.
Oh, absolutely. In fact, we have an analog that goes in with the. We actually have a wizard. He's a technological wizard, and he shows up in book 4, and you get to meet him then. Even though you don't recognize him at first, you'll see him as he's revealed to you. He's actually a technological wizard, and he is a person who is intimately acquainted with the piece of technology called the ring. And the ring, of course, is a character in the book. It's also a cybernetic wonder, which I have explanations for how it would work, and even drawings, which I put up on my on the chat. I don't know if you can access them or not. James, can you? Uh-oh. James is frozen with fear. It's okay. It's okay.
Oh, okay. I was muted. Which chat did you put him in?
I put them in our regular Discord chat.
Okay, just give me a moment. I'll bring him up right now.
Yeah, it's at the very, very bottom. It's the first, actually, that'll be the first one we want to look at, because this is the first piece of technology that shows up. And it's more than just a communications device. It is actually a cybernetic neuro enhancer that allows people to experience the world through the ring, like a filter. They can see everything through their filter. It's an internal filter. You can change the way someone looks. You can change the way that you interact with the world. And in fact, with proprietary software, the maker of the ring had actually at one point had created an entire world where you could only access maps and visual markers through the ring. Without the ring, the world becomes gray and lifeless, because all labeling and all decoration is now done through the ring and through the cybernetic filters that are embedded in one's ocular nerve system or in the auditory nerve system. Everything is experienced, instead of through your eyes and ears, it is experienced through the ring. And so I have a picture that I drew for it, which is pretty detailed. And we first introduced this, I said, in book 1. Nobody knows these rings still exist. After the happening with what they assume is an EMP strike, followed by this horrible plague, which distorts them and the world around them and wipes out all the technology that they know of, there are still some of these rings available, but they didn't know it. They don't know who has them and who doesn't. And it turns out only the most elite people still have access to this dying technology and the servers that somehow still exist out there. And so this becomes enigmatic, because once again, whenever you look at software and enhancements and other things, when you're talking about cybernauts, people who have been neurologically enhanced through technology, which is now becoming real through transhumanism, it is very mysterious and very enigmatic. And we're just now learning about a lot of it. So here's the ring with its stone that you can depress and actually link into other people as a hard uplink. And this is hand drawn, so it's actually, you'll have to excuse it. There's nothing digital about this picture. It was done with a pencil and a pink pearl eraser and paper. So we have the OmniView Theater and Studio, which is actually, that's the camera and the ring stone itself. It's an uplink connector, and it's a toggle also. It can go back and forth. You can click it by turning the ring and actually turning the stone itself with a collet around it. Twist to set, click links interface, of course, and the we speaks you. It's otherwise, this is the La Princesa model, which they're very proud of. It didn't sell very well because it was actually marketed to very young people, and it was so restrictive in its ability to reach out. They couldn't sell very many of those, but they did find one, and you'll find out where they found it. The other characters, some of them do have their own ring. And in fact, that's how they're accessing this picture now. As you can see, they're looking upwards at this ring. It is actually being projected into their digital field where they can see it through a heads up display that's embedded into their own neurological ports. And of course, you can see that down there you have this tang on the bottom that's actually designed to be embedded into your own body. And so you'll have a neuro port that would be connected through your left hand, and you actually wear it in place of the wedding ring, which people used to wear. Now they just wear the device all the time because it not only allows them to view the world through different eyes, through the eyes of the ring, it also allows them to have digisexual partners that they're able to access at any time. They can experience the world internally as if they're there. They can open up a chat room and they can become any body that they want, and they can have a person either disguise themselves as someone else, or they can themselves create a partner made of AI through this ring, and they can learn to interact with this person and feel everything through this ring. And then they lost it when they lost their rings through the MP. So this becomes an incredible device to them, filled with magic and wonder, because that's how they accessed their world before. And then they lost it, had to learn how to interact with each other again, how to look each other in the eyes, how to touch things, how to feel the world around them. If you can imagine being able to be in a world where you could reach down and touch fabric and it would start to feel like velvet and it would look like velvet and you could see the color and touch it and smell it and everything else, but it's not real. It's just a neurological illusion created by software through your ring. And when you actually took off the ring, you would find out that you'd just been running your hands across dirt. And so they have this incredible device that they want back. Many of them do. But then there are many of them who realize
they're addicted.
Absolutely, they were addicted to the rings, and their AI partners became more important than the real people in their lives. And now they've gone back to that primitive state of being these mutated creatures that have learned how to interact as humans again. They may not look human, but they're more human than they were when they owned the rings. And now the rings have been rediscovered. And our technological wizard, aka known as the gambler, is the one who knows how to work them in the story. And he becomes their wizard. And as he says, technology is magic.
Yep, pretty much. I mean, my well, it's not 100% the same, but you can say that it's quite similar in the realm of the Star Shattered universe, because they have this galactic network, and in many cases it's so, like, parts of it are so ancient that certain civilizations, they say, like, they have like erected gated firewalls, and they say, like, no, don't venture inside this part of the cyberspace, because we cannot guarantee your safety. But the best device, well, of course Terence will disagree, but the best device to mightily serve the GNet and effectively replicate some of the magical effects that you have just described, science magical effects, is the nerve gear, which is a circlet. It's a ring for your head, I guess, which, strangely enough, it projects your soul into the GNet. It's not just your mind, it's your soul. And this is this is one of the things which many of the, not if not all, like most of the Terrans, they dislike about this device. It's a celebrated ancient technology. It's very ancient. Pretty much no one knows where it popped up from. Some people theorize, like they spread quite sensible theories that it was actually created in antiquity, in galactic antiquity, and it's being like manufactured or given to certain corporations to manufacture by a secret society or someone with the knowledge how to create it. And though it works and people know how to, like different sentient races, they know how to use it. They know how to roughly how to manufacture it. Nobody the fuck knows how and why does that fucking nerve gear project your soul into the gene. Nobody knows. It just happens. And it turns out your soul can be hacked. It can be stolen, can be devoured by certain entities, and there are all kinds of dangers lurking, especially within the deep GNet. And this nerve gear is another piece of in enigmatic machinery in my universe. So I'm guessing it's a bit similar to the ring, Snow, but the fact that one can get their soul hacked and
Oh yeah.
their body possessed by way of misusing the nerve gear, it's kind of like another layer of horror which exists in the Star Shutter universe. And one of the major issues that mostly Terrans have with this technology, and why they would rarely, if ever, use the nerve gear. Yes, of course, they would like connect to the GNet via computers and other devices, like the portable computer, the PDA, the personal data assistant. They would do that. It's like nobody is that stupid as to say, "Oh no, I'm never going to use the GNet." No. Yes, they will do it. And in many cases, if one decides to explore the world of parts of GNet, which on itself is a massively galactic size, like enigmatic device, because it has planetary size servers in hyperspace itself. So it could fucking operate.
Keeping him cool. At least you get to keep him
Yep.
cool because it's space. It's not a problem.
Yeah, and hyperspace, it's a bit different. It's not what you think it is, or at least like most of my readers think hyperspace is. But yes, the nerve gear is something which, I mean, it could be used to connect to another machine, let's say a mech or a starfighter or a tank or something else. Yes, cyber ghosts are fucking freaky. Yes, I agree. And if you connect yourself, everything that you are, like the core of your being, to that machine, yes, you will achieve greater levels of like operational fluidity. Probably the starfighter you're flying, or the mech you're piloting, or the tank, or whatever it is that you're driving. Yes, you will be awesome as far. But the moment someone decides to hack you and they succeed, oh boy, you're fucked.
Well, that's actually what happens in Watcher the Damned. What they don't realize is that they were allowing their own government, their own system, which is a global system of basically cyber surveillance, to occur. And so they have their social scores attached to the ring itself. They have their social bucks that they earn every day by being
like
good citizens.
China.
Yes,
Like
absolutely.
China.
I didn't. They wasn't even when I first conceived this. We were still just at the very beginning of that, and so they can't access their, for instance, their digisexual partners unless they have enough social bucks. If they're they can't access the ring's maps or the filters that show them the signs and the waypoints along the way. Everything's blank and faceless in the real world. You have to have the maps and the overlaid labels that are associated with the ring's ocular heads up display in order for you to make your way around the world. Otherwise, it's just no signs, nothing else. It's just endless streets and no way to identify buildings because all of their decor and labels are gone. There's no signs in the real world anymore. So you have this ability for that system to go ahead, top down, a giant technological corporation that rules the world, to control people by denying them the simple pleasures that they have made them that they actually have made them addicted to. Go ahead.
I said they are controlling the NPCs.
Yes,
I believe that even the hate of the ring, the power of the corporation that and the governments that were using that, there were real people who are like, fuck you, fuck you and your rings.
Yeah, they do.
No, knowing you, I expect that.
Well, that's the thing, is that they don't realize it. They are, and when they do realize it, they just don't care, because everything you want is all now on the ring. If you wanted to be involved with somebody, you're going to have to go through your own government to get there, because you can't message them unless you have your ring. You can't do any of those things. In fact, the people that don't have rings, that are denied these rings, are actually part of a group called the Shadow Band, and it's BAND. They roam the streets without their technology. They have a hard time finding the way around. They can't access their money. They can't go home because they can't unlock their doors or their transportation to go. They're literally stranded. When they step in the wrong side of the system, they are stranded. And this is in the previous world.
Didn't they found new cities, new villages?
Well, in Watcher the Dam, they do. As we go forward after the apocalypse, people had to rebuild their lives. And so before, where they were trapped in these cities and literally couldn't even get out without somebody knowing, and they would be sent to go to re-education and basically made homeless until they agreed that they would do what they were supposed to do. And then they would be released to have a rudimentary form of the ring again, of course, under surveillance always. But after the EMP attack and after the happening, that all goes away. People learn how to have a modicum of freedom, because, as the Watcher says, even though he was in chains, at least they couldn't read his thoughts. They couldn't see everything he thought or everything he wrote, because it was all on paper now. And he was one of the few that were left to actually be able to write and do math in his head. It becomes a rare ability without the
magic.
It's
witchcraft.
The ability to use a pencil and write your name, more than just your name, to write a sentence that someone else can read, becomes magic. So yes, it's an enigmatic machine in and of itself. And we do have others as well. In addition to the ring, we also have nanotechnology it borders on magic, because you have not just nanotech, but sentient nanotech. And I can't get too much further into it because it's a spoiler. But
no spoilers, please.
When you talk about hacking someone, how easy is it to hack someone when you put a sentient group of bots into their body? What happens when you start doing that? And that's a question, of course, that's going to come up especially as you go into the second series, as we talk about cybertech and the experimentation that was done on certain characters and what it means for them and how they're going to actually have to maybe give up their rings again if they want to stay free, because it gives them power over those who don't have the rings. But once everybody has the rings, you have to answer to the ones who made it. And that's probably the most important piece of enigmatic machinery in the story, because although it seems like it's far away for a corporation to be able to control people down to the point to where they can't even have a private conversation, we really aren't that far from it.
Yes, one ring to rule them all, and in the darkness bind them. But here it's not in the darkness, it's like in the fake light of cyber, the pretend cyberspace. I would say that if they did attempt to do that in the context of like if the planet was isolated, they could do it in Star Shutter, but in the context of the galaxy wide web, the GNet, they would someone would prey upon them, and they would exploit them, and they would actually like remotely like hack them and so manipulate them to a certain extent, to such an extent that they would not be aware that that's happening. That's why lots of people are not actually using the nerve gear. And well, there are some areas which like super specific, where they actually do use it, and then say that like some certain empires, they have like specialists like engineers and computer engineers and stuff, who mandate that, and said like the governments and the Imperium says, oh no, you can't be this highly paid and super influential engineer on this battleship without the nerve gear. No, you can't do that. But it's a double-edged sword. So in this way, it's a bit different than that. But it's the world building is different. So yeah. James, what do you think about the cyberspace style enigmatism?
Well, that's definitely one we see pop up a lot in sci-fi. But one thing I wanted to touch on that this brings up a lot, that may it be an enigmatic machine or a machine in general, one tool that it is magnificent for is the exploring of culture in a large variety of ways. It could just be the way people socialize, maybe the political atmosphere, or maybe the control some aspects of culture are being handled through the use of technologies, and particularly in the realm of, I guess, what you call post-apocalypse, is where you're often going to find these the most. And they're quite excellent tools for adding texture to worlds, as well as adding various forms of mysteries of the past, which is a lot of the stuff you do, Snow. And the idea that you also woven in this aspect of sort of like AI and the ethereal network is something that is pretty awesome, because it explores the idea of what if civilization kind of ends, but that invisible mind that it created is still around in some way, shape, and fashion, and how new societies can come along, be built around it with completely alternate cultures, and not even know it's there unless truly accessed through the very few points of access that such a ethereal like technology could be accessed.
Well, and that was one of the things I really wanted, because when we look at proprietary software, which is wonderful, I mean, people have a right to make their own software to do things, but when we have large systems of proprietary software, and I'm a big open source fan, and I'm going to say that right out loud, run Linux whenever I can. And whenever I have an actual PC, I almost always switch over to Linux right away, because I just love open source. When you have proprietary software, it becomes, you have to allow the company to unlock your goodies and things like that. Well, imagine having a world where everything is unlocked through the proprietary software, where you can't even enter your own house unless it's done through the proprietary software. Or we're already almost there with Alexa and with a door, door cameras and doors that are activated by our own voice or our face prints or anything else. And so we have this world that's designed around that ring. But when we have those large technological giants, we also have other technology that's out there. In addition to the nanobots and the wonders of technology, almost every building will have it incorporated. As a result, these megalithic corporations and we've seen this already with BlackRock and other organizations, that there are only 6 or 7 really giant corporations that actually run much of the world, own most of the real estate, things like this. And they work usually with world governments, so world governments get a kickback. And it becomes a top-down method of oppression through enlightenment, I guess is a better way to say it. But it's not just all about cybernetics. It's also about all of the technology and the types of machines that we have and how it incorporates that. And this is also seen in Watcher the Damned with the underworld, which is a place where those who still have access to the rings and the technology are living. And they don't call it the underworld, of course, they call it the colonies. And they have the access to all of it: air conditioning, running water, ice cream whenever they want it, because you still have to eat. And their world almost seems like it is a utopia, but of course it's not. But they still have that technology, and those without it now want it back. But there are those who recognize the oppression that it can cause. And so we have that world, the machinery of civilization, which I would say that the ability to build these tunnels. And the Enigmatic Machine itself is one of these cities. And I won't give a spoiler, but the city itself is created as part of a real world machine that was being created in Texas in the 1990s. And it was shelved because it was given away. And that was actually the technology was given to the Large Hadron Collider. We were building an accelerator, particle accelerator in Texas, massive, incredibly huge structure. And it's been sealed up. And of course, it's been said that it's not being used anymore. But we've incorporated it back into the world, into our world in Watcher the Damned, as a city that was repurposed by these people who still had access to technology. And deep underground in these 50 miles of tunnels and all of the different tunnels that they've created on their own, the vast structures of the underground city, and all the people that live in it who access this technology for good or for ill, for themselves or to control others. They have this technology now that's wanted. So the city itself is run in part by this AI, and it is incorporated because you have this machine. And although we think of our own AI as being, for instance, our little helpers, and we talked about the helpers last time. I have my little helpers in the story, and they're the AI helpers like Clippy used to be on Microsoft, and now we have our own little Grok, or we have ChatGPT, and we can give them personas. But in reality, you only have one AI. It will run all these different personas and different facets. So the AI that is running the city may have connections to AI that is in other parts of this world. And as we see this machine grow, being used in this dead, decaying world, It's no longer able to be replicated because there's no longer humanity there to build the parts, to build the chips, or the monolithic internal organism that is the proprietary software. They're no longer able to do this because they don't have the technology or the manpower to do it. They can't go open up a factory when everyone is dead. So they're just repurposing these old pieces of tech, and even their tech is dying. For instance, one of the things we use that's in a real world term, the night vision. If you have night vision goggles, everybody knows after a while it starts to fade. It doesn't last very long. I say very long. It'll last, but it starts to burn out. And even in a future world, they had night vision in their rings at one point. Were able to use it so that way they could just look around and be able to see everything at night through their eyes and through this enhancement. And now it's dying. So all of these pieces and parts get glitchy and they have to be reworked, and sometimes they malfunction, other things happen. But the soul of the enigmatic machine still lives. And the corporation that created it, even though everyone is dead and gone, that ghost of that corporation still exists in the heart of the machine. It is what lives
in the machine.
Yes, it lives through the software. It lives through everything that's left. And so it becomes its own entity in the story itself. And there are, so I can't really go very far into it because there's spoilers.
Yeah, beware of spoilers.
I know it. I'm like trying to say it without saying it, but we get to see this through the eyes of the characters as we go further, and especially as we go forward into series 2, we really start to explore the cybernetic part of this world and the enigmatic machines that exist in it. And of course, I'll let y'all talk for a minute, but we have flying machines. We actually still have vehicles. And in a world where these men have been getting around by foot, where a horse is a luxury because you have to know how to break one and train one and ride one. And that's not an easy task. And I can say that because I have a horse. I own one. And he's a hard-headed horse, so he didn't really like being trained too much, but he's my baby and I love him. But I know cowboys out here, so I know that you don't just get up on a horse and ride unless you've had somebody to show you how. That's their luxury to get around. Imagine looking up one day and seeing the flying machines that used to exist in your world suddenly flash by. And those machines are called helograms. And I'll talk about those in just a minute because I actually used some of my father's technology that he worked on as an aerospace engineer in the 1970s to help create those machines.
Are they orbital? Suborbital?
Yes, they are. They're actually they're actually low atmospheric. They're all very few, so they're not going to be high atmospheric. There are other things out there, but I can't say it because I have spoilers. I can't talk about it.
Yeah, I'll
up in the first book. So we're
so far as to like the AI. I've talked a bit about the different types of AI in Star Shuttle. But yes, there are ancient AI who their software is degrading. They're like highly advanced algorithms. It's like short for like algos. They're degrading, and in many cases, some of these like ancient AIs, I'm thinking about things that in some cases are hundreds of thousands of years old. They have to like cannibalize falling apart, like digitally degrading programs in their parts of the GNet, because they are like hundreds of light years away from the actual alive parts of the GNet. And if they could devour someone's like ghost, they would. And
undoubtedly
they would do it. And in some cases, these ancient AIs, they have achieved such almost like godlike abilities that had they been able to transform themselves into someone in the real world, or maybe, God forbid, to form their own body, or like take shape with enough. I mean, it does require lots of energy, but if they could, they would. And one of the ways to actually, like, the surest way to keep these things away, which a lot of the civilizations, and there are civilizations even like in levels of knowledge and development, like, let's say, our own antiquity, who are aware. They are aware because someone told them, some like alien visitor told them in hushed tones about, guys, if you one day develop this and this technology, do not poke there, like, do not dig too deep into the digital minds of Moria, otherwise you're going to awake the Balrogs and you're gonna get fucked. and
Technological Balrogs.
yeah, technology, yep, pretty much. And all of these civilizations are there, yeah. So there are gods, like, or and demons in heaven, and this heaven it's not just material, but it's also immaterial and digital. We have to be careful. I mean, they're like, most of these travelers, they're not uh it does not work like in Star Trek, because Star Trek is quite, in some ways, is quite limited in these areas of interaction between developed civilizations and underdeveloped civilizations. And these people are like, okay, so yes, of course, you're like, okay, you have triremes, like, you have hoplites, you have bronze weapons. What do I get if I try to, like, if I call like some Milcorp and try to conquer you? Nothing, pretty much. Okay, so I'll just like, I'll just trade with you, get some unique cultural artifacts, which is actually logically, which is the shit that this person would try to grab and sell for insane amounts of money somewhere else. And the people whom he is selling stuff, like some, let's say, space age metal, or like something else, which to them is fucking magic, like modern steel to a bronze age civilization. What can you do with modern steel? You can slice straight through their armor. You can slice through their swords. You have like, suddenly you have Excalibur. And these travelers, these explorers, they're like, okay, let's do some trade. I'll give you some information, or maybe like I'll warn you about shit, and you'll give me your prices, like priceless vases, or like ceramics, or let's say this statue, which is super unique, turbo unique, giga unique, and said traveler would, they'll sell it for like insane amounts of monies. But a lot of these peoples, like, who may be totally underdeveloped, and may be considered by many civilizations to be like some like hillbillies, like I'm excuse for the term, but yes, they are like somebody is living in the boonies and have no idea. They will learn. There will be people aliens will come and tell you, like, sages and kings, or like, they're not going to land on the town square and like the market and say, hello, fellow aliens, I came here to warn you about. No. and a lot of these civilizations, they actually know, and they are scared shitless. And this is actually how a lot of these ancient digital gods, digital demons, more like, are contained. Because when these civilizations developed, yes, country bumpkins, yes, I'm sorry. When these civilizations eventually develop, they have this old knowledge, and in many cases they believe it in it. They're not like, oh no, this is some bullshit conspiracy theory. No, 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 they actually believe it, and they're not poking around where they don't have to. And let's say another part of this like in this size level of technology, of enigmatic technology, that would be ghost possessed machines.
Ooh, nice.
Yeah, and then you can achieve that. And we're not talking about Warhammer 40K or something else like this, like
Hey.
talking in general. We're talking in general. Let's say some eldritch level shit. Yes, you do have it. You fucking do have it. Especially in certain areas, and maybe like some millions ago, it perhaps not that long in the Star Shattered universe. You do have empires who, at the end of their natural existence, to prolong their survival, like their life cycle, they go into, oh wait, no, event horizon ship in Star Shattered levels, it's like, nah, it's baby levels eldritch stuff. We're talking about giant weapons possessed, entire ships controlled by raids, starfighters, tanks, mecha, soldiers, etc., like robotic soldiers even. It's absolutely insane. And this is, perhaps, as James likes to say, this is like this special layer of horror that many of the readers really, really love and crave. Ain't I right?
No, absolutely. I think that, and James, actually, I think you were wanting to say something about that, because you have a lot of that same, when we talk about horror and the machinery of your world, a lot of it's fantasy machinery, but it's still the machinery of civilization. It's the little things that work, and some of it's enigmatic because it has that layer of magic about it.
Yes, definitely. There are some elements that are a mix of both, but it's usually like a between cultures sort of ordeal, as the way cultures are separated. A lot of the technologies they use can be seen as such. Like one culture known as Whitlow heavily embraces technology, and they were the ones that sort of founded or uncovered the secrets of electricity and reshaping metals beyond simple swords and things of that nature. Um, then you have most other cultures, exterior of them, as they're a highly isolated culture that literally built a magnificent, miles tall wall around their entire inner kingdom. And only certain groups or certain people groups, or those brave enough to explore the exterior, really go out there. And out there, you most other cultures don't embrace technology to its fullest. Like you have the culture over the seas, which is a much more warring culture. Though they are warring people, they often more so just embrace more rudimentary firearms, as they have unlocked the sort of the secrets, the gunpowder, which in itself, in its own day, was a secret, was a strange new material that many cultures did not have access to, and that plays a heavy role in their culture, is sort of the secret to gunpowder that they possess. And then your third culture actually surrounds themselves in a much more mystical fashion, as they've more so unlocked capabilities that those who are unfamiliar with them would consider magic, but they themselves actually don't call it magic. They refer to it as understanding, as it is a sort of force already within the being that is waiting to be unlocked.
Dude, that sounds almost like what he's talking about, the ghost in the machine.
Yep.
And this comes up whether it's magic or it's technology. We have a tendency to humanize our machines. We do so because we can't help it. We humanize everything. We anthropomorphize animals. We see our faces in the clouds, and everywhere we look, we are that kind of creature, and we can't help but see ourselves in the machinery of mankind. It's what we do. And so when we talk about this as an overarching ideology that there is a particular spirit in the machine, we see this over and over again. H.G. Wells is the time machine. The time machine itself is a machine, and he relies on it so much that it's almost, it is a character in the story. He has to try to fix it. He has to try to put it together. Nemo, the Nautilus, where Captain Nemo has the Nautilus, and it has its own spirit of its own. Even though this is this wonderful steampunk adventure by Jules Verne, it has a spirit of its own, and he is the captain of this ship. And of course, who can go any further without talking about Star Trek and the Enterprise, that the spirit of the ship itself, the spirit of the people on it, seem to imbue the machine with life. And the same thing, of course, with Han Solo and the Millennium Falcon. There's that spirit that it lives inside of it. And so when we look at machines that take us from place to place, we especially seem to imbue those machines with life. For some reason, they took the place of the horse. And so we are, for thousands of years, the horse has been the helper of mankind, the drawer of wagons. Whether it was oxen, four-legged creatures have been helping us all this time. So when we move towards these machines, the enigmatic machine has that spirit all of its own. In Watcher of the Damned, we have a flying machine called a hologram. And I did talked about using my father's own inventions that he had created. He was a NASA scientist. Actually worked, I've said before, on the Saturn V rocket. He helped design the tail section of the 747. He worked on this triply redundant safety systems, the Trieste submarine that went down into the sea. And his machines were enigmatic. They have spirits to them. They have a sense of wonder that can only be touched by those who engineer. And one of the reasons we have so many engineers and scientists in Watcher of the Damned is because they are part of this society. They are actually, one of my heroes is an engineer. He builds things. In fact, that's the picture that I had of the drawbridge is his design. So when my father would draw these things, he would draw them up on napkins at home. He worked on the Wankel engine for years trying to get it to work. And he worked on gyroscopes. He tried to create a gyroscopic engine. So for me, it becomes enigmatic because I am not an engineer, but I wanted to create something that was akin to this. And I don't know if you have it or not, but James, if you could put up, I have two on the Discord that are called the hologram. And I'd like to show those. We have just a sort of a portion of a picture with it. I have a very early sketch. I can't get to it because it's actually it's a pencil sketch and it's in the book. I have to go back and get it out. But in the first book, they show up and we find their ghosts and there's carcasses scattered around because the EMPs take out everything. And I mean, absolutely everything. Civilization is destroyed. These wonderful machines are destroyed with them. You find them wrecked all over the world. But in this case, we still have a few that exist in Watcher of the Damned. And I won't say exactly how they occur, but I will say that they are there. And one that you will get to meet is actually named Lola. Now, I have a picture of Lola in here, and you only get to see a little glimpse of her. And we'll look at that one. When they first
I got a series of photos. They didn't have a name on. They were numbered.
Okay.
So I'll put
Look,
them up. You can tell which one's which.
you'll see one where they're pulling back a tarp.
Pulling back a tarp. Okay,
And then
I think
where it's shooting up into the trees, and there's actually a spacecraft or an aircraft in the tree limbs. We can see through it. These are aircraft that can actually be cloaked and visually cloaked. We're using technology that we're already actually involving ourselves with, and that technology is fiber optic, where you actually have the fiber optic beads that can cover an object and can actually sort of bend. It looks like it's bending light, but it's actually reflecting
is this
light.
the right one?
Yes, sir, it is. And so we have the Watcher, and Rose is directing him because she actually has night vision. She is a genetically modified human, and she actually is able to see in the dark, and she sees this enormous ship directly above them. And as you can see, we have this wonderful translucent cockpit that it actually has the displays on it and everything, and it's the touch glass that they're able to touch the screen. There's no more all of these buttons and everything else. You can touch the screen on the glass. You're able to use it. We can see their footprints through it because it's actually designed after a Bell helicopter from 1970. I actually got to ride in one. It has this large glass sphere, and you're able to see all around you like 360 vision. And so I wanted that element there. But we also see above it an enormous fan-like shape, and that actually is a gyroscopic fan, and it's able to be moved. And I actually went ahead and drew it in. I do have schematics, but I want to have an engineer look at them so they can give me some more advice on how to draw this thing. I do have it drawn up. And so we have this gyroscopic blade on this that actually helps drive this machine with this with a wonderful, I said, like a touch glass sphere that's virtually impervious to any kind of projectiles. However, it's not impervious on the fluid lines, which is actually what the Watcher is hitting here. He's able to shoot that, and because he knows he's not going to shoot the rest of it. And as you can see, they're very alarmed because they haven't seen one of these since before the happening. Somebody out there has these, and he's going to be meeting these people face to face. Now, in the next picture, and if you put that one on there, we see a man pulling back a tarp, and we have somebody looking through the glass, and this is the Watcher, and he has found, along with another character. Yes, sir. That character, I won't give his name because it's a spoiler, but this character has this flying machine. And of course, in human fashion, he has named her Lola. And so he has a flying machine just like the one the Watcher helped shoot down in an earlier book. And they are going to be able to meet these people and fly them. But I wanted a gyroscopic engine because I would gyroscopic fan blade because I wanted this technology that my father worked so hard on to come to life in this machine. But I knew that we have certain technologies that are also available to help them with fuel, because you can't just use gasoline from 50 years ago. It breaks down, it degrades. They're actually using a solid jet fuel in a hybrid engine. It's called a scramjet. It is. Thank you. Yes, I'm so glad you know something about it. It's an older technology, but my father actually worked on it. He is in defense.
Older does not mean automatically worse.
No, in fact, it's something that we have never fully developed. And if you had this ability to you have basically a nacelle that will have the scramjet in it hanging beneath or sort of embedded into the body of the craft. And it is a scramjet that can be run with a solid jet fuel. And of course, if you've ever worked with sterno or any napalm or anything else, you know that it can last almost forever. It doesn't degrade the way that liquid gel does. And so you can have these gel type fuels that can be used along with solar power to help kick in these electric engines. And you would actually move over vast distances with the scramjet. But then as you got closer to your destination, you might be able to switch over and go into reserve power, perhaps to go on with a hybrid solar engine. And so I wanted to incorporate that technology that I'd seen him work on so often. So this is based in part on my father's work and remembering him drawing these out, and the wonder of seeing a machine that's just was one time an image in someone's mind become a reality. To find something after you thought you've lost it. And in this case, the Watcher is amazed because This is the first time they get to touch an actual working machine in over 50 years in this world that they've been trapped in, where they're undying mutated creatures. And somewhere down there, there's this entire civilization of people who's still able to access this technology. And that takes us to the next one. And I've got a picture of it. I'm going to upload it, but it will be the drones. And I have enigmatic drones in my story, and I'll go ahead and cut to that chase for you so you can actually talk about a little bit more about what you have, Black Knight and James. You have weapons.
They have these specific ships which were once gifted with an AI, like a really advanced AI, and these were rare. I mean, the Terrans, they pretty much say, like, they would rather nuke themselves than have anything operated by an AI, mostly machine AI. They have some VI, like virtual intelligence, which are like limited in scope, AI limited in scope, which are designed to degrade, almost like the Cortana in Halo.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but usually there are some rare ships or machines like mechs, maybe even tanks. And by tanks, I'm not talking about like normal size tanks. I'm talking about mega panzers, like the ginormous tanks, which are designed to
huge
go.
ones.
Yeah, I mentioned them earlier. They're designed to go toe to toe with mechs, with large battle mechs, and even spaceships, like shoot spaceships from orbit. And these machines, some of them, they have an AI, but it's not a normal AI. So there are a number of cases where there was someone with advanced abilities, and he was able to, like, he was able after their death, these people, these sentients, were able to bond their very soul with the machine. And it's not, then they're not like the ordinary people who are crewing that machine. They assume that, oh no, that's like, yeah, that's just the AI, but it isn't. It's actually someone who is there. They're possessing the machine or the spaceship or whatever. And in other cases, it's actually an AI, but it's like not a normal AI. It's not a machine AI. It's not just like a merely coded thing. It's one of the mind-coded AI, which they have the ability to feel. And they have the memories of those who used, who risked using a nerve gear and actually went into GNet and coded that AI, mind coded that AI. And in many cases, these mind coded AI, they have bits of their creator's soul.
Ooh.
So these machines, I mean, they may not be spaceships or anything. They may be, let's say, cities, factories, even something which necessitates the presence of such a thing within. And these are quite powerful, and the longer they exist continuously and operate without breaking down or like losing
the presence of the people who are helping them operate, the more powerful they become, and they evolve. And in many cases, some of these they evolve to to the similar levels of capabilities of the digital AI demons that I mentioned earlier. But they are of the other kind. So in one of the drafts that they have, there is a city which is almost like Atlantis level.
Oh
Like
yeah.
the really technologically fantasy Atlantis levels, from what James mentioned earlier about the Stargate IP,
Oh
what they
yeah.
had Atlantis being a freaking spaceship flying around. So yeah, there is that planet which had this city and its people died, but the planet is home to a primitive species which is slowly evolving, and the city is operated by that sort of like an enigmatic mind coded AI, and that AI has become like almost like a god figure for these primitive people, because it's capable of appearing before them, albeit in holographic form, and guiding them, teaching them stuff, and eventually, this this AI is aiming to help these people evolve like naturally without manipulating them or anything, so they would finally attain a level of knowledge and technology so they could live together with it, because it's lonely.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay, well, Snow, I got your photos up and ready to go if you want to talk about them.
Okay, we'll pull out the next one, which are the drones, and you'll see the last two photos that I just sent to you. We'll pull those up for now, and I think you've got them right there. There we go. And we have these drones that are in the story because we have drones in our real world now, and in fact, they're called algos. They're aerial lethal organ. Okay, geo. Dude, I can't even say it out loud right now. They're algos. They actually are. It has a big long name, but they actually find people and do facial matching. They do social matching, which means they actually go through their patterns and run the algorithms to find where these people might go and what they might do, so they can hunt them. And I'll pull it up in a minute. Aerial lethal organothic searchers is what they are basically. And so they are able to be programmed and they have handlers, which are people that actually program them on the fly and then set them loose. And then when something big is found, they're actually able to be taken over again by a pilot who will do some input to try to help them. But otherwise, they can just go on their own. And they don't have to be guided by a pilot at all times. In fact, sometimes they have to be rarely guided at all unless they finally find their target. And so we have these introduced into the world. And one of the first times we see them, actually, there's this adorable kitten, and her name is Princess Precious Sweetums. She is owned by one of my big villains, my big bad, who is Boss Chartreux. But he loves his kitten as much as he could ever love anything. And she is discovering the drone. And as we see, it has a mechanical arm that actually can be extended to sniff and to see things. And it's quite lovely to her. It actually is a beautiful piece of technology. It does have the fiber optic beads that it coated, so that way it can blend into its surroundings. As I said before, we're actually using these fiber optic beads now because they will actually reflect the picture that they see in a 360 view. As a result, it sort of bends the light and creates this illusion that something has disappeared. And so it is using that technology. It's a hollow sphere that has payloads inside of it, and also runs off of a very small heliosgram jet and hybrid engine. And it has a low speed rating. Now, this is something that's very different from some of the new drones we have. I wanted to have a drone that I knew would be a searcher drone, and it would not have a great deal of room because it's able to be set free and out in the wild and could possibly run for years on a very small load of gel fuel, and otherwise have the solar technology helping run it on this hybrid engine. So we wanted to have it where it would go at a slower pace. It could be dropped off by a heliosgram or something else as a package, and then would spread out over an area, disappearing into the woods and just hanging out in the trees looking for whoever it is it's looking for, and having surveillance. And so the cat being able to see more than just visible light, being able to see the motion, and actually cats see motion. It's a strange thing to say. We think we see motion, but cats actually have the superior ability to detect motion with their whiskers and with other things. And so she's able to see what people can't, which is this drone that has shown up in their otherwise very primitive world. And it is a very deadly piece of technology. It carries rounds that are actually heat activated, anti-tank rounds that are small that can be used. It also has other lethal weaponry in it, and it can be designed also to stun and capture people. Of course, it won't be able to drag them away too far, but in a large group, it could. Now, in the next picture we have, this is from Caballeros del Camino, which is our new book coming out. And our stalwart band of mutant cowboys have discovered a drone and have managed to take one down. And you'll find out how. That's a spoiler. But as we can see, Rose is holding that out, and they are looking at it with a fear of terror and trepidation because they know what this thing could possibly do. They understand that this was something they thought was long gone from their world, and it has now been reintroduced. And that means someone is powerful enough to have kept a field of them going. So when you have these enigmatic machines, we don't talk often about repair and the work that needs to be going. How do we keep something like that with the software and the mechanics of it? How do you keep these things moving forward so it can do the deadly work of your villain or can do the good work of the people who have taken it away? In order for them to do it, they have to know something about this machine, and it's a part of the greater story that goes with Watcher of the Damned is these machines, and they are machines of war. War is one of the greatest advancements of technology, the greatest advancers of technology, because we look for increasingly efficient ways to kill someone. And in addition to wonderful technologies like prosthetic devices and healing powers that can make a soldier get back up on the field again, and we see this in our newer prosthetic devices that have been developed out of the terror of war, we also see these weaponries that come up. And the drone itself is not just an AI, it is also a weapon, and it's designed to kill and designed to hunt. But we have other weaponry that was created for people to use, actual soldiers on the battlefield. And I want to go to those photos now. And you'll see men holding power tools, James. We have one picture of two men firing weapons. And you'll see that it'll be two cowboys. And there's two of those. And go ahead and pull that one up there, right there. And there's also another one that shows them back-to-back firing weapons. And one of them is firing an old-fashioned 6-shooter. And then the other one is also firing a weapon. These weapons are called the Shiva device. The Shiva is a superheating internal volatility activator. And I don't want to give too many spoilers about it, but it does show up early in the book. It shows up actually in book 2. And it was written into the story from the very beginning. So we have our mutant cowboys who have gone all over Texas, and they've discovered guns that they've scavenged from around the area, and ammo, because Texas, I'm saying this out loud, I'm going to proclaim it in the name of Jesus Christ, will always be a place where there will be guns and ammo. There will be guns and ammo just all over the place. We have enough guns and ammo to supply an army for 100 years. And so they are able to find these things and use them very well to their own advantage. However, in the story, they find these unusual devices they have never seen before, even in the previous world. And they are a relic of a war that brought about the happening. These are called the Shiva devices. They were being brought in by spies, disguised as power tools. And they actually work as power tools. You can go ahead and, the Watcher himself right there has a drill. But it also is a disguised weapon, and it is actually a superheating internal volatility activator, otherwise known as a heat ray. And he's able to use it because he has the technology to it that allows him to activate it, because it actually has a lock on it. Like most new weaponry that is being developed, we have it key coded where if a soldier on the battlefield picks it up, he can't just immediately use it. The Shiva devices actually have a key device, and you'll have to read the book to find out what it is, but he has to have that key device in order for the Shiva device to work. It must be powered, and it has to be turned off occasionally. Like any of the energy weapons that we are currently working with, they heat and they do break down, and there's only a certain lifespan with these things, so they can't use them all the time. So good old-fashioned firepower is going to remain an important part of the society of Watcher of the Damned. Ammo and gunpowder, and you talked about gunpowder being a technology. It absolutely is. The formula for gunpowder is a miraculous and terrifying device, and it can be made from very simple ingredients, which I will not mention here because we'll get banned. But you can make it with things you can find on a farm if you know the proper formulation. And so our boys and girls that are out there that are shooting these guns in Watcher of the Dam are going to keep them, and they're going to keep their ammo and their powder dry because they want to have something that's reliable. But for the lucky few who find the Shiva devices, they are going to be able to use them to have an energy beam, and there are pluses and minuses to each energy technology. This is based in part on some real technology that we are developing now, and I went ahead and wrote it into the story. It is an enigmatic machine because they have created in the future, this near future Texas, the ability to make them and to transistorize them, basically to make them much smaller so they can be used. And in our second picture, what we see is one of the larger ones. Actually, and if you notice, so we have a drill. This one was disguised as in order to be slipped into the country and kept in a cache until such time it was available for use. This one was disguised as a sawzall. I think I can say that. I call it a power saws or a saws wonder or whatever it is, but it is a sawzall. It is one of the big ones, and I actually scaled it to size. So it's a wonderful power tool in addition to everything else, but it is an energy weapon. And so one of my characters, Dominic, is actually working with that right now. And we see, of course, the Watcher behind him has his favorite weapon of all time, which is called Cindy, which is a Remington BTAC, basically a very small semi-automatic shotgun. And he has on his back a shield that he has created from tearing off a car door and putting a sling on it so that way he could protect himself during all of these firefights. And so we have this weird little dichotomy, and I always wanted to put those together, that we have technology out there that's dying, but you have things that have worked for hundreds of years, and if they're kept in decent shape, don't have to be updated. They don't have to have their software working, or don't have to have an electronic device that keeps them going. And so in each of these things, we usually show those two devices in contrast to each other, the pluses and minuses, the pros and cons of each system of weaponry, because there is no perfect weapon. You must learn to adapt and use each one to its best benefit. And when we talk about these enigmatic machines and these enigmatic weapons, we want to be able to say, honestly, in our own stories, that they have pros and cons. Yes, there are wonderful, I love Star Blazers, or otherwise known as Battleship Yamato, and it has what's known as the wave motion gun. And
yes.
is so incredible. It's the ultimate weapon as far as you can take out entire planets with this thing. How do you defend against that? And of course, it sometimes doesn't work. It just breaks down. It doesn't quite go through. They turn it on. It just sits there. And so, but when the wave motion gun works, it works 100%. 60% of the time, it works 100% of the time. And so, it's a great device. But yeah, I wanted something that wasn't. I wanted it to be more realistic in the sense that Murphy's Law has to have a hand in the weaponry. because every weapon that I have ever used in my life, every machine I've ever used in my life has a Murphy's Law component to it. If you don't have the parts, you better go find one. You better know how to make one. You better know how to fabricate parts if you're going to be using some of these things. You can fabricate parts for a gun if you have gunsmithing tools. You probably can't fabricate most of what it would take to create the Shiva device. Either it's already there in its own dying state as it slowly degrades when you use it over and over again, or you're just going to have to live without it. How to preserve those things, how to keep it going after 50 years, and how to keep it going when you've used it over and over again. Does it have a failure point? Everything that's created has a failure point. And this is something we hit over and over again in Watcher the Damned. And in engineering, you have a failure point with every piece of equipment that you are going to own. Knowing what that is half the battle, so you can avoid it. But eventually, if you don't look for it, you're going to find that failure point, and it will almost inevitably happen at the most catastrophic moment. So part of these enigmatic machines, with all of their wonder and beauty and terrifying abilities, it's up to the human handler somewhere, or the machine or the system that repairs it, to keep it going. And without that ability, even in a world where machinery repairs itself, they still have to have the parts and the capability. And if they don't have the ability to replicate that, or if the nanobots fail to self-heal the machinery, what will happen to it? That's part of the story of Watcher of the Damned.
Excellent. And I think that's a perfect point to wrap up the stream. We're a little over 2 minutes there. So where can... that's fine. That's what the stream's all about, is for sharing the passion. But Black Knight, where can people find you?
Well, as usual, you can find me on Substack, Black Knight, and there you can read my newest stories.
Yes.
And on Amazon, you can find all of my the currently available 7 out of 10 books from the Star Shatter series, the 2 anthologies, collections of short stories and not so short stories.
Great stories.
And Railgun and The Blood of Tyrants, which is the second one.
Yes.
You can also find my 2 Coronesque novellas about Valen the Authorian, and also my as for now one and only old school shadow fantasy novella, Lord of Bones. So that's pretty much it.
Oh, you did it.
Excellent. R.H. Snow, where can people find you?
Yeah, you can find me at watcherthedamned.com, where I'm always creating something weird. And I have way too many ideas in my head, and probably half of them would never work, but I like to draw them out anyway and put them in my story. So if you want to see some more weirdness, go look at it, because it's in there. If I thought of it somewhere, or my father drew it on a napkin, or my mother ever mentioned it in a song, it's going to show up. Because I got nothing better to do but sit here and write these stories. 9 books so far. We actually have the 9th one is in production right now. 8th one is supposed to be released any moment here. I'm waiting. We had formatting issues, y'all. It has been going on for months, but we're trying to get it done. So we'll be doing a soft release on that one, and then we're going to get the series finished. And it is chock full of enigmatic machines and wonderful characters, and I'd love for you to read it. And you can also find me on Substack with James and with Black Knight under the name R.H. Snow, and Deep Thoughts from the Double White of Doom.
Excellent. Everybody, thank you all for joining us. If you're watching this on replay, leave a comment down below, give it a like, and if you enjoyed the conversation, share it with some of your literary friends. But with that said, we are out of here. Enjoy the rest of your day. Thanks for joining us. Bye-bye.